So today we are going to see femur. Any bone we study under heads like what are the parts, then side determination, then anatomical position, attachments, ossification and applied importance. So type of bone, this is one of the long bone in the lower limb. This is the bone of thigh, femur. To determine the side, we should know the parts. So femur is, as it is long bone, it is having upper end, shaft and lower end. So this is lower end, shaft, and this is upper end. Determining side is easy. You know, head of femur combines with the acetabulum to form hip joint. So it has to be directed medially. So this can be of right side or left side. So you should know which is the anterior aspect of shaft. So posteriorly we are having this prominent linea aspera, which is posterior prominent margin. Anteriorly it is smooth and convex forward. Convexity is subjective thing, so you should always feel for this roughened posterior border, which is linea aspera directing posteriorly. Anteriorly it is smooth, so that means this is of right side. Another point by which you can determine the side is posteriorly, this is intercondylar notch. This is medial condyle, this is lateral condyle, and this is intercondylar notch which is directed posteriorly to form knee joint. Okay, this is articular surface which is placed anteriorly. So this is right femur. Now what is the anatomical position? For anatomical position, both the condyle should touch the table. In the exam, you can put in such a way that both are touching the table, or another thing is the side to which it belongs, you should keep the neck or head on the index finger of the same. So this is right femur. I am holding it on right index finger. So when you are keeping the head resting on index finger, automatically both the condyles will touch the ground at the same level. So either you keep both the condyles on the same level or hold the head resting on the index finger of the same side. Okay. So this is the anatomical position. Side determination I told you. Another point for side determination is, before that, parts. This is head. This part is neck. This is greater trochanter, and on this side is lesser trochanter. Anteriorly we are having this intertrochanteric line, but posteriorly prominent crest is there, which is called as intertrochanteric crest. So this is intertrochanteric crest which is placed posteriorly. By that also you can determine the side of femur. Now this is head, which is more than 2/3 of the spear, and the pit is called as fovea. This is pit which is called as fovea, and ligament of head of femur or ligamentum teres is attached to this part. Then between head and greater trochanter and lesser trochanter, this projection is called as neck. So neck, upper border is horizontal, but lower border is slanting. This is greater trochanter, which is having anterior surface, lateral surface and posterior surface. Anterior, lateral and posterior. Medial, on the medial side of greater trochanter, here we have trochanteric fossa, and which gives attachment to obturator externus, Posteriorly and medially, this is lesser trochanter. Now this intertrochanteric line if you trace medially below the lesser trochanter, goes down and merge with the linea aspera, So this line forms spiral line. Here you can see this, above this red line, this line is spiral line. This line is spiral line. Okay, this line is spiral line. Now, when you trace the greater trochanter, this roughened part posteriorly, this is gluteal tuberosity. This is gluteal tuberosity. So medially intertrochanteric line goes towards linea aspera to form spiral line, and laterally towards greater trochanter, you can say this is greater trochanter, this is gluteal tuberosity, this is gluteal tuberosity, which is shown here with the blue color, where gluteal tuberosity gives attachment to gluteus maximus muscle. Now between neck and shaft, this angle is 125 degree, that which is called as neck shaft angle, which is lesser in females because of wider pelvis and more in children, neck shaft angle. Another is then we are having this shaft. Shaft is in a cut section. It is triangular, which is having medial border on medial side, lateral border, and posteriorly linea aspera, which is posterior border. So we are having three surfaces of the shaft: anterior surface between medial and lateral. Between medial and posterior, we are having medial surface, and between lateral border and posterior border, lateral surfaces. So in the middle, shaft is having three borders and three surfaces. When you go towards lower aspect, this linea aspera splits into two and diverges towards medial and lateral condyle of the femur to form medial and lateral supracondylar lines. So this surface, which is enclosed between medial and lateral supracondylar lines, is popliteal surface. So lower end of femur is having four surfaces: anterior, lateral, medial, and popliteal surface. Sorry. Now when we look at the lower end, this is medial condyle of the femur and this is lateral condyle of the femur. Medial condyle is larger as compared to lateral condyle, but lateral condyle is in more line with the shaft, so weight transmission is more from the lateral condyle, and this is stronger condyle as compared to medial condyle. And this is articular surface. This is articular surface of patella, which is extending more on the lateral condyle of femur. This is intercondylar notch, which is having medial aspect and lateral aspect. So medial side of intercondylar notch is formed by lateral surface of medial condyle, and lateral surface of intercondylar notch is formed by medial surface of lateral condyle. Now on when we look at the condyles, on the lateral side of lateral condyle, this prominence is called as lateral epicondyle, and there is groove posteriorly and below to this lateral epicondyle. This groove is for popliteus, tendon of popliteus. This is lateral epicondyle. Similar way, the prominent point on medial epicondyle laterally is called as medial epicondyle. That is, prominent point on medial condyle laterally is medial epicondyle. Now there is angle of torsion. When we place this femur horizontally on the table, I am not able to now put everything in the same field here due to range of camera, but if we keep this femur on the table, this head will not touch the table. That is because the long axis of upper end and long axis of lower end, they meet at an angle which is called as angle of torsion, which ranges from 7 degree to 15 degree, which is angle of torsion. That is when we draw long axis between upper end and lower end, which will meet at 7 degree, which is angle of torsion. Another thing, when you look at the femur from upper side, you will see that lower and upper end, they are not coming in parallel line. So that is angle of torsion. Now coming to the attachments. So till now we have seen the type of bone, parts, then we have seen angle of torsion, neck shaft angle, we have seen side determination and anatomical position. Now coming to the attachment. So this to the intertrochanteric line, anterior capsule of hip joint is attached. Now capsule is frequently asked question, capsule of hip joint. It is attached to this intertrochanteric line anteriorly, and posteriorly it is attached 1.5 centimeter medial to intertrochanteric crest. That means greater trochanter and lesser trochanter, they are not in the capsule of hip joint, they are outside the capsule of hip joint. And these holes which you can see here, these holes are for retinacular arteries. So trochanteric anastomosis are formed here, and from there branches goes and supply to the head. So in the fractured neck femur, the arteries which are coming from trochanteric anastomosis, which are called as retinacular arteries, which are piercing the neck and capsule neck and then supplying the head, they will not be able to supply the head, leading to necrosis of head of femur. So it is important to treat fractured neck femur as early as possible. And through this ligament of head of femur, branch of obturator, that is obturator artery branch, goes and supplies to the head. So anterior aspect of greater trochanter, here we have attachment of gluteus minimus. Now behind this attachment, there is bursa for this gluteus minimus, and this oblique line shows attachment of gluteus medius, and behind this attachment of gluteus medius, again there is bursa for gluteus medius. This is gluteal tuberosity, which gives attachment to gluteus maximus. So the blue color indicate attachment of gluteus maximus. Now anterior surface, another attachment to the lesser trochanter tip gives attachment to psoas, below that iliacus, and this blue color denotes attachment of pectineus. So above downward to the tip psoas, then iliacus, and to lower to the iliacus is the attachment of pectineus. Now trochanteric fossa, I already explained. Trochanteric fossa gives attachment to obturator externus, and in front of trochanteric fossa, the anterior aspect gives attachment to obturator internus with two gamellae. Now intertrochanteric crest, not in the middle but just above the middle, this elevation is called as quadrate tubercle and gives attachment to quadratus femoris. Now this anterior aspect, anterior to 3/4 of anterior surface of femur gives attachment to vastus intermedialis. So this muscle is vastus intermedialis. In the thigh you will be able to see that you will not be able to lift the muscle because it is coming from this surface. Now coming to the attachment of linea aspera, which is here posteriorly. For that I will show the board. So this is for the attachment from the linea aspera. You know there are 3 compartments in the thigh: anterior compartment, medial compartment, and posterior compartment. Anterior compartment is extensor compartment, medial is the adductor compartment, and posterior compartment is flexor compartment. Now these compartments, they are separated by intermuscular septa. So we are having medial, posterior, and lateral intermuscular septum. So we will see what are the muscles of anterior compartment, that is quadriceps, vastus medialis, lateralis, intermedialis, and rectus femoris. So out of this, vastus intermedialis we have seen, which is coming from the anterior aspect of femur. So remaining vastus medialis and lateralis muscles, these muscles are separated from medial compartment by medial intermuscular septum, and from posterior compartment by lateral intermuscular septum. So to the medial lip of now lower part of intertrochanteric line, which is placed anteriorly, then medial lip of linea aspera gives attachment to vastus medialis, which is shown here with the orange color. So this vastus medialis is a muscle of anterior compartment. Then next in line is the adductor longus, which is a muscle of medial compartment. So this attachment is separated from attachment of vastus medialis by medial intermuscular septum, which I have not shown here because of less space here. So, after vastus medialis, we have medial intermuscular septum, then attachment of adductor longus, then we have attachment of adductor brevis. This is long attachment of adductor magnus. After this, we are having posterior intermuscular septum. After posterior intermuscular septum, muscles of posterior compartment, that is short head of biceps femoris. This is short head of biceps femoris. Then we are having lateral intermuscular septum, and then muscles of anterior compartment, which is vastus lateralis. So, upper part of intertrochanteric line and lateral lip of linea aspera gives attachment to vastus lateralis. So, medial to lateral, we are having vastus medialis, medial intermuscular septum, adductor longus, adductor brevis, adductor magnus, then posterior intermuscular septum, short head of biceps femoris, then lateral intermuscular septum and vastus lateralis. So, these are the all muscles which are coming from linea aspera. So, on the medial supracondylar line, this prominent part is called as adductor tubercle. This prominent part is called as adductor tubercle, and this adductor tubercle, this prominent part is called as, which is shown here with the red color, adductor tubercle, and this adductor tubercle gives attachment to lowest fibers of adductor magnus coming from ischial tuberosity, that is hamstring head of adductor magnus is attached to this adductor tubercle. Another importance of this adductor tubercle is lower epiphyseal line goes through this tubercle. Now, on the medial supracondylar line here and lateral supracondylar line here, these two are attachment or origin of medial and lateral head of gastrocnemius. So, this is lateral head of gastrocnemius and this is medial head of gastrocnemius attached here. Above this lateral head here is the attachment of plantaris. Above this lateral head here, attachment of plantaris. Now, this is medial condyle, this is lateral condyle. So, medial surface of lateral condyle gives attachment to anterior cruciate ligament, and lateral surface of this medial condyle gives attachment to posterior cruciate ligament. That is about lower end attachments of the femur. Another important point is ossification. This ossifies from first one primary center for the shaft, secondary center appears for the head, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter and lower end. They appear after birth. Then in the fracture of femur, whenever there is fracture of the shaft, iliacus and psoas, which are attached to the lesser trochanter, flexes the upper segment upward, and this distal segment is rotated laterally because of muscles which are attached here. So, in fracture shaft, leg is rotated laterally. So, you should know about femur is the capsular attachment of hip joint. Again I will explain, is attached anteriorly to intertrochanteric line and posteriorly medial to intertrochanteric crest. Now, importance of this secondary center of the lower end is it appears just before birth. So, whenever there is appearance of secondary center for the lower end, that means fetus is nearly 9 months, that is it is completely formed fetus. So, lower end secondary center, if it is there in the fetus, that means it is 9-month-old fetus. That is for medico-legal importance of lower end of femur. That is all about femur. We have seen the type, site determination, anatomical position, attachments and applied importance and ossification.